Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back again. We had a wonderful session, track one in the morning, and now we are back for another wonderful session, which will be conducted on food on fingertips. So, yes, today we are having again a great lineup of speakers who will speak about the entire route through for commercial and retail sector and how to conserve and preserve that. And it will be led by one of the accomplished moderators in not only in Ishri but entire refrigeration sector. So I have the pleasure to introduce Mr. Ashish Gupta, Director, Standard Refrigeration Private Limited, with more than 31 years of experience in the HVAC and our commercial refrigeration, cooling, and this industry as such. He has done his NHV training course for graduate engineers and for cold chain for technical proficiency in regarding planning and designing of cold chain infrastructure. He has stood first there, and he has done a lot of other courses, trainings at companies, reputed companies like Emerson in China and Alpha Laval, Loewe, Dixel, etc. So without much ado, I would like to hand over the platform now to Ashish to take over. Over to you, Ashish. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rajanji. Thank you for the warm introduction. And I again welcome all our viewers, participants to this second panel discussion and the seminar conference. Thank you so much to our speakers today for taking out time to be here. The Refcold, as you see, is the third version we are having, and this is the first day, second session we are doing. Refrigeration, I think, is all pervasive. It is into many verticals, but end of the day, it is one segment that is only entrusted to safeguard and to provide what we as humans consume. It could be in terms of food, it could be in terms of our drinks, it could be also in terms of our vaccine. But all in all, the refrigeration as such is entrusted to provide what is best in nature and what is the closest to the nature in the forms that we can be using. Also, I'm a firm believer, that the humanity has gone through a lot of revolutions. Maybe when the man found fire or when he made the wheel, there was a revolution. There was a revolution on industrial revolution. Then we had the green revolution. We had social revolutions. But if there is one social revolution that has happened, which is like encompasses the total global humanity, not to be restricted to any one continent, country, or race, I think then refrigeration is one factor that kind of enabled it. When we could start to preserve our food or pre-cook our food or make food last for a longer time, I think that is where the social revolution kind of started, and that started with export of food. So food was traveling from one country to another, maybe from one continent to another, and that along with it brought a glimpse into the social fabric or the cultural fabric from where the food was coming. So you could have the Chinese food in America, and you could have the American burgers in India. So that was, along with that food came, how we would view those people, the cultures there, the society there, the fabric there. So it brought about a globalization of oneness or of thought. And I think other thing that happened with when we started refrigerating food was that families had more time. Women, men, and children had more time to plan their day. Children could be more independent in choosing what they want to eat. Half-cooked food was available to, do things quickly. So I think food in the refrigerated form brought the, biggest revolution that I personally believe in. And I think going forward from where this thought ends is that in the last 2.5 years of the pandemic, this is one sector of engineering, I would say, as we as engineers on the cold side of the food, we actually saw a huge change in whatever our schedules were. First of all, people could not go out, but everybody wanted to have food. Then if nothing could be done, they had more ample time. So ample time to put into their hobbies and also to do, cook new foods. And I still remember during the lockdown time, people would share their photographs. I have cooked this thing new today, or my recipe for this food is this today. I think in the whole 2.5 years that have gone by, the way we think about sourcing food, uh, and the kind of variety of food, and the exclusivity of food has kind of taken a drastic and dramatic change in whatever we see. With this brief thought, this second session today is kind of, as you would understand by the name, is food on the fingertips. And we are talking of how food is now totally like an accessible thing on your phone, whether it's through service providers who will bring food to your home, or for people who would actually give you raw vegetables or semi-cooked foods. With this pre-thought, we have a galaxy of wonderful speakers with an amazing experience, and an experience that not only spans lifetime but also continents. So it's a very, very well balanced people who are going to be here speaking to us. And with that, I would request Commander Subramaniam to kick off the session today. Akash, yeah. So it's an honor to have you here, Commander Kanpati Subramaniam, sir. And he's an alumni of Naval College of Engineering. He has obtained his master's degree in control systems and instrumentation from IIT Chennai. Commander Subramaniam has served on board on Indian naval submarine INS Sindhu Dhwaj, INS Wagli, INS naval ship Beas, in overseeing the electrical department, maintaining all the electrical and electronics equipment on the ships. He has also varied interests and passions that include sustainable agriculture, water conservation, solar energy, and personal finance. With that, I hand over to you, Commander Ganpati Subramaniam, sir, to kick off the session today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish ji. Thank you for your kind words. Let me share my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir. If you could run full screen, it will be better, sir.
Yeah. Better now?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Please go ahead, sir.
Right. A very good afternoon to all of you. Firstly, I would like to thank the organizers, ISHRE, for inviting me to this particular Refcold 2021 virtual exhibition. It's a pleasure to be here and to interact with the industry partners. I am from Big Basket, the online grocer, India's largest online grocer. So I'm a practitioner of the refrigeration industry in terms of using the various devices available in the market. How do I integrate them? How do I put them together? How do I ensure that the food, or rather than the food, I would call it the grocery, reaches my end customer the way it is meant to, without any perishment of the goods. The very fact that I'm a grocer means that I'm handling perishable nature food, and I have to ensure that the items go out to the customer in the right manner. So the flow of the presentation is very simple. It's the last mile delivery is a challenge which I'm trying to address here. What exactly have we done to address the last mile to ensure that the customers get the right quality of goods at the right temperature without it perishing on the way to the customer? What are the tools which I have at my disposal for the last mile and the much bandied monitoring? Do I need to maintain the temperature? We are in a tropical country like India, where temperatures are generally in north of 30 degrees. Do we need monitoring? How do we go about doing it? What is the benefit we can accrue by going for the monitoring? So this is a basic flow. And what is our experience in handling it is what I would be covering during the presentation. Right. So the last mile. So how do I exactly define the last mile? So typically, if you look at our business, we have a store called the 5K Business Center, which generally is covering an area of maybe 12 to 15 kilometers of radius. And the customers residing in this particular area could want to order an item from us. And we need to ensure that we give the item to the customer in the right manner. So when I'm saying what are the factors to be considered in the last mile, I could be delivering it to a customer, directly an individual customer, or it could be a business to business where the volumes will be large, or there could be a large volume variation because of the nature of the business. So the container which I carry in will vary, right? The other two factors which are there is the distance to the customer, which translates to when did he order the item onto me and how much time do I have in hand to be able to ensure that my temperature profile is maintained so that the customer receives the goods in the right manner. And finally, the quantity of goods, right? So this is exactly how it goes into defining the space of the last mile, right? So what is it that I have at my disposal for the point of tackling the last mile? The first and most important tool which I have is the PCM, the phase change module device, which are customized by engineers in our company, depending upon the product portfolio. It could be a chilled item, it could be a frozen item, or it could be meat. It could be any kind of item which has a particular temperature profile. I need to marry the temperature profile of that particular characteristic of that particular item with the right kind of PCM pack. Second is how do I carry the goods? If you see on the bottom right of my screen, there is a container having the PCM packs inserted inside it with the goods put in. So this is a frozen pack, which is blue in color. And you see that there's a box in which the goods are put in. So this is exactly where the trick comes in terms of being able to know what segregation of items I would do in terms of maintaining the temperature profile, the right kind of thermal battery or the PCM pack which I have to have. And since it's a thermal battery, obviously I have to charge it. If I have to charge it, I need to use a plate freezer. I'm going to put this into a plate freezer, freeze it, use it for my last mile delivery by putting it into the box, put the products, ship it out to the customer. The last module which you can see is called the modular cold rack, which I'll come to in the next slide to tell you what exactly it means. So what does the modular cold rack do? Typically, we have cold rooms which are there in each of our stores. And a cold room would typically be 250 or 300 square feet. But they're not extremely convenient for a fast-paced e-commerce segment wherein items are to be picked. A minus 18-degree temperature, person has to walk into the chamber, pick the item, close the chamber back, come out. So the chances of it being kept open, high energy consumption is a standard problem in the industry. So how did we solve this particular problem is exactly the modular cold rack. It is nothing but a fridge which you have in your home with different doors. If you can see on the right-hand side, you got 12 compartments. The topmost compartment on the right-hand side is the compressor cabinet, and the remaining 11 compartments are where we keep the goods. So anybody who wants to pick up an item, he just opens that particular door, picks the item, and ships it to the customer. In the above mentioned slide, I mentioned how we do the shipping, and it's as simple as that. And how do we achieve temperatures here? Obviously, I will have different temperature profiles for different kinds of products. in terms of a frozen product or at -18, or a chilled product at +5, or maybe meat at 0 degree to 4 degree or something like that. So that is the varied kind of nature of this particular modular cold rack, which has been introduced as our tool for the last mile to enable easy picking, easy packing to the customer, and dispatch to the customer. Coming to the next point, which is the last point, I'm keeping my presentation extremely brief to keep it interactive so that questions can be asked, and I would be able to take on the questions, whatever you have. I keep hearing this question. My last mile is not fine. My last mile is not fine. I don't have a temperature going at the right temperature to the customer. What do you do? How do I ensure that the temperature which is going out to the customer is maintained? One option is standard sensors, which are fitted into the boxes. If you could see the boxes which are there earlier, we could fit sensors in that. These are Bluetooth enabled sensors. These sensors communicate the temperature profile. When the item is being carried to the customer, it communicates with the mobile of the delivery person, and in turn, the temperature is sent back to the cloud. And we know in the entire transit, from the time the item was picked till the last moment wherein the item was delivered to the customer, what was the temperature profile. What does it give benefit to us? It just gives you benefit of looking at the diagnostics and being able to take on the fact that, look, my last mile is not right. Now, the last mile is not right could be because of various reasons. I have not put the right pack. I have not used a right bag. I have taken a broken bag or a broken box. My box is completely open, right? Or I have not frozen the PCM packs and put it into the bag or the box. There could be any number of reasons why the chain is broken. The chain is only good as the physical infra in place. The plate freezers, the box, the thermal packs, and the items you're putting in is what is going to make the big difference. The monitoring is a level layer on top of the physical infra which is in place, and it can only serve to monitor and correct what is there in the infra segment. On top of this, I have heard people talking about the blockchain technology. Can I embed my temperature profile into seeing the traceability of what is a final temperature which is being received at the customer's premise? Yes, definitely you can do it. The temperature, if it is being tracked continuously, you can, at the time of receipt of the item at the customer's end, all that needs to be done is the customer can do a QR code scan and look up the history of the entire product profile and see how it has come to him. But that's the topmost chain in the food chain. If you really look at it, the bottommost chain is the physical layer, as I talked of the tools in terms of my cold chain of the box, the bag, the PCM packs, the modular cold rack, and all the other associated processes which are going to help you to shape the last mile run, followed by the temperature sensor, which is going to pick off the temperature. And lastly, you will have the method of the blockchain technology to be able to ensure traceability and be able to show to the customer, look, this is what temperature, voila. So that's all I have to say. And I think I have a few minutes for your question. If any questions are there, I'll be taking it now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ganpati sir. I'm like very crisp, very precise, and I think it brings to the forefront the thought. Like I've seen many times. There is a complete beautiful cold chain being maintained from the produce, from the where it is made into frozen, and then it is still to the last delivery store. But then people come and buy, and then they put in their the boot of their car, and then they probably go to watch a movie, or like they're going to go to the restaurant, and then they come back, they take the home, then they can refreeze it, and the whole sense, and the attention that you've paid to maintain the temperature goes for a toss. So I think once like we started with the thought of food or fingertips, so people are now ordering food online through the apps, and so that brings a lot more responsibility on players like you to ensure that the food is maintained at the same temperature. My only one quick question is that you pointed into your in your presentation is that there is still scope and room for human error, which you said like probably the packs are not frozen or the box is broken. Are there any thought processes coming on that account from your side?
A very relevant question here, Ashish, because very simply put across, um, if you look at the pack, it is a very clearly defined as a blue color pack. So what we do is identify the pack to enable the person who's picking the item to choose the right pack color. For example, it was blue. Blue is for the frozen item. So there's no confusion in his mind. Right? When he's looking at a minus 18-degree product, he will choose blue only. Similarly, you have different kind of colors for the other segments, so that there's no confusion in the mind of the picker to choose the right kind of packs for him. Of course, coming to the next part, which is the box or the bag, it's a continual maintenance effort. You have to check for that. And we have an audit and compliance team, which looks at the health of the bags or the boxes and weeds out the boxes or bags which are broken or torn and replaces it on a continual basis, thus ensuring that there's a chain maintained.
Thank you. So you brought out a very good concept of the blockchain, I think, and it's a very, very hot topic which is being debated in the industry as to blockchain. For the viewers, I would like to say that tomorrow again in one of the sessions, we have a discussion happening on blockchain. Just before you part, just one small question, sir. With the blockchain, there comes a lot of responsibility on ensuring, because consumers are consumers. So if they can track and check the cold chain has been intact, is great. If they find that it's broken, it brings a lot of responsibility on people on the backside, like people like you. What happens to the food that would probably go waste? So whether you see that most of the companies will go into temperature monitoring to the last leg or not? So just a small question, probably in like 1 minute, if you could answer.
Yeah, so I think I did cover that in the presentation. The most basic layer is the physical layer at the bottommost, which consists of the physical assets. Then comes the temperature monitoring, and on top of that comes a bit. I'm not talking about the blockchain technology, right? Until you don't get the bottommost thing right, I mean, there's no point in going any level up, whether it's the temperature monitoring or the getting the data out to the customer. Yes, temperature monitoring can help you to identify and pinpoint the causes of where the supply chain is broken. But if you don't correct it, it is not going to solve any purpose or any resolution is going to happen in that scenario. So the most important point is still the physical world, whether the virtual world of IoT or the blockchain is still a virtual world. Get the basic right, and automatically the other two will flow through.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your session and your thoughts. I fully agree that we have to get
till now.
Okay. Thank you so much. So we talk of glitches. I think I had a glitch. Thank you so much for being into the physical and the IoT world. Great. Thank you so much. If I missed thanking you, Ganpati sir, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Ashish, for having me.
Yeah, and I would request you to stay for some time. So if in case we have any questions coming later in the session. Next, I would request Sanjay Hans, who is the team head and projects for Panasonic India. And, between me and Sanjay, we had a talk, that why, we talk of so many things happening on the, the last leg delivery or, food for on display and, superstores, but why things are not happening. So what are the pain points? And so that is where we have Sanjay bringing out his thoughts. So Sanjay Hans is having a very rich experience of around 21 years plus in the growing field of refrigeration and cold chain, also in air conditioning. He has held key functions like project design, project sales and management, research and development, training and customer services for HVACR field. Prior to Panasonic, he has worked at various HVACR companies like Emerson, Blue Star, Daikin, Ingersoll Rand, and Tecumseh. Sanjay is a BTech mechanical with specialization in refrigeration and air conditioning for YMCA University, and he also holds an MBA in marketing management from Kurukshetra University. And also, I know him. He is a very passionate speaker, and he believes in what he speaks. So, over to you, Sanjay, for your presentation.
Thanks, Ashish. Is it audible?
Yes, Sanjay. But I don't see your presentation, Sanjay. Yes. Can you run on full screen? So thank you, Sanjay.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks, Ashish ji and the ISHRE community, which I am a part of ISHRE since many years. With respect to the topic, like in the refrigeration, like this is the I have given a pain point, so it's almost a pain management or pain point which I have to talk about in our field. Of course, every industry, whether it is automobile, whether it is air conditioning, whether it is refrigeration, everybody is having some pains also in it, but we have to tackle those pains and we have to, live with it, and we have to correct those things. As in the last slide, like Mr. Subramaniam has told many hassles, like we have to be, very practical, very down to earth when the things have to be, practically happen in the field. Yes, we know that things are moving in a very right direction for India, especially if we talk about India. As far as the things are concerned, like in case of metro cities, you can just see that we are growing. We are growing with the almost not dynamically, but yes, the pace is almost constant for the growth. As industry, we are very positive, but simultaneously, if we really talk why we are not growing, if you talk about the share market and other things like industry segments, where very different fields like IT industry, they are growing just like anything, but not our industry. Why? So the question is very relevant, because ultimately we have to deal with this every refrigeration segment. Like we have to deal with very sensitive thing, that is a food. And when we want to save the food, we have to be more sensitized ourselves, because we are actually directly inhaling the food, whether it is cooked food or whether it is raw material, whether it is fruits, whether vegetables. But in case of our industry pattern, we have to deal with many costs involved in the whole cycle of the cold chain, or on the commercial aspects also. Because of the cost factor, this becomes a commercial refrigeration. When it comes to our household refrigerator, ultimate objective is same. In case of our household refrigerator also, we want to save food. That is also a commercial aspect, because we want to save food, means we want to save some wastage when we bring in the stuff from the market. So that's the whole objective. Our whole cold chain cycle is very complex. We have to start from the farm and to the retail supermarket and even to the last mile delivery, like Subramanian sir has just explained. So we have various stages, and of course the challenges are very big, because we have to have a control at every stage. Whether it is harvesting, post harvesting, we have to make some treatments, we have to make pack houses, we have to make pre-coolings. Everywhere we have to control the temperatures, because ultimately we have to deal with the temperature and humidity. We have to deal with the health of the fruit. We have to deal with the health of the food, which is actually going inside our body. So the slightly the controlling as far as the in India context is concerned, yes, things are on the growing stage, then things are on the developing stage, but still as a India, like I am calling it as a developing field, you can say. This is the complex cycle, like we have to deal with transport refrigeration, we have to deal with but when it comes to any sort of engineering, since we are all the refrigeration engineers, so generally what happens that in case of engineering, in case of management, everybody has to deal with like 4 M's. That is a basic funda. So I have just started my presentation considering this 4 M's. So now what is the 4 M's? Like if we consider that each M is having some sort of pains, which is which is on the track. Some pains are already being taken care by adding some technology, but some pains are still to be considered, so still to be need to be focused. So just you can see the first M, that is the management. I'm not considering like man, machine, method or management. I've considered first is management, because whenever we have to enter into this refrigeration, commercial refrigeration field, we have to manage a lot of things. Like we have to manage various stages, we have to manage the packings, we have to manage the food, we have to manage their shelf life. So behind that, like we have to manage the investments, we have to manage the location of the cold store facility, location of this outlet, like where I have to display the product, where is the market. So we have to manage the assets also, we have to manage the rentals, we have to manage so multiple things have to be managed. So understanding of this business, like it is slightly a tricky job. And of course, since this is a food items, so we have to have considered, we have to manage the interlinked risks also. So this entire management, I'm not just saying that okay, we have to be very far off this field, but yes, we have to manage lot many things. If we understood all the aspects very carefully, we can definitely save the food and of course earn some money, because ultimately we all are somewhere at some point of time we have to save money for the in terms of money, in terms of food, in terms of wastage, in terms of our environment. So we have to understood the science behind the all this refrigeration field. So management has to be the first time where we have many challenges. Other one is method. Like when we talk about the cold chain, like we have to have understood the methods. So we have some challenges in the methods, because why we are not in India growing? In European countries, in US, in Canada, everybody is having going to the supermarkets. Everybody is going to the distribution network is so good. Every monitoring is there. But in India, things are slightly developing, but still we are facing a lot many challenges because of many constraints. Maybe we don't know the exact method. So clear illustration of the need of any eatable product or medicine or pharma product is to be, is a because since everybody wants to see that there is an opportunity, but what is the need? The definition of the need is to be very much clear, so that at least that a designer or at least a solution provider can think of that. Even the investment supports, like those are not very much clear. Of course, it is also on the developing stage. Like our government of India has given many subsidies for the agriculture. They have considered the few areas in across India to support in terms of subsidies and all. And of course, the location of the facility, like everybody, like if suppose there is a display or there is a retailer who wants to sell the food items directly to the customer, so he has to look for a space near to the metro cities, which is very costly. So, and apart from that, like their transportation is also very very difficult, because everywhere there are many taxes when we enter into a metro city. So from the government perspective, we have to understood what is the method of how we can reduce those hassles to work on that, because ultimately our objective is to save food and to reach to the end customer in a good form or in a healthy form. We have to have all safeties and compliance, so that is the whole process. But so we have to understood first. So that is the second M, that is method I'm just talking about. You can see the method. Then third, we have to talk about the third M, that is the machine. So see, in this whole refrigeration industry, since the size is very not very big, you can say, as compared to the other industry like automobile or air conditioner. But yes, if we compare about the air conditioners, our size is also very small. So when it comes to the overall innovation, overall development, overall machine selection, overall, what type of equipments we want to install. So we have to think many pain points. We have to consider very much like safety. We have to consider the energy regulations coming up every day, like Bureau of Energy Efficiency has incorporated many regulations on the compressors, on the other refrigeration appliance. So everything is doing good, but yeah, we have to understood those things, that these regulations, these facts like cost of the technology, system architecture, component availability, spare part, these are the challenges which we have to have managed, which we have to understood. Like for any application, we have to select the correct product. We have to select, we have to see whether it is a blast freezing, whether it's chilling, like there are various processes. So our life cycle cost analysis to be considered while selecting the machines. Everybody is having different criteria. There are multiple technologies. Somebody says the refrigeration racks are there. Somebody says screw pads is there. Somebody says stall compressor is there. Somebody says recipe. Multiple technologies, but the overall objective is that we have to select the right product. So that is a challenge, because it is ultimately sometimes, what happens in the industry, that they are going for the higher end products, but ultimately they forget that the fourth M, that is the most important, that is a man, that who is handling these things in the field, in the ground level, is somewhere which is missing. So that is the fourth M. You can see the variety of equipments, in the industry. Everywhere we can see variety. You can see at backends, we can see at displays, we can see on the storage front. We have to deal with variety of products, variety of customized solutions. So that is the, so we need training also for those, for India, that is slightly lagging, and that is related to the fourth M. Apart from that, when we talk about the machine selection, like in India, what is happening, that we have made a product, because innovations are very limited. Suppose in India, we are making one product. So that product is universal, or that product is, for India, it is a one common product. But if you see the climate zones in India, it is different. Everywhere, India is a very tropical country. So we have to consider that which product is suitable for which zone. So that is the that is one pain in India while selecting the products. Like people are thinking that, okay, this machine will work in Rajasthan also, in Jaisalmer, this machine will work in Nagartala also, or anywhere, or Jammu Kashmir also. So we have to see this is really a challenge for all the OEMs who are making the machines. That is one, just I would like to highlight this. So now in terms of fourth M, that is the manpower, which is very much essential for our for any field, but for refrigeration, yes, because the people who are working on the machines need some skill set. They have to have technical competent to work on various technologies. So in India, we are lacking. We are doing lot many hidden trials because this industry is a growing industry. So people are not considering this industry as a very, you can say very much lucrative, because this world now is coming, the new generation. They are the mobile based engineers. The people are want a comfort life, but in case of when it comes to refrigeration, we have to have slightly more going to deep, more understanding of the technology, more we have to have essence, like what is the gravity of the issues if suppose machine fails. So that understanding of that gravity for the end customer, for the OEM, for the distribution network, for the warehousing, it has to have some understanding. We are facing some challenges like everywhere in this industry, like less recognition of man hours of refrigeration engineers, because this refrigeration is working 24/7 to 365 days. And in India, there is a shift culture is not there very much. That is not a very much prominent in the shift. Like we have to work 10 hours, we have to work 12 hours, like we have to work 8 hours, like in European countries or US countries. So for refrigeration market, it is a question for it is a problem, but we have to find the solution also. So that solution is available when we have a complete set of human beings or refrigeration engineers who are available for our special technologies. So apart from that, like one challenge which I am just seeing that one pain is there, like less awareness about the standby or redundancy culture. Each and every like customer having, since refrigeration is having a high capex, or if suppose location is Delhi or Bangalore or Bombay, the land cost, the rentals are very high, so capex is almost increased. So people are understanding, people are thinking that okay, we have to reduce the capex, so they just bypass the standby and redundancy type thoughts. But when it comes to the breakdowns, our engineers, so they are always on the high expectation level. They are just feeling that okay, every pressure is going on the service engineers. So why? Because the breakdowns, the other problems which are in the machines, because if machine is in the breakdown, they have to have working for long hours. So they are not finding this field very much you can say they're not finding it very lucrative again, because the current generation is not going into that. So we have to have trained the peoples. So we have to have like everybody has to have a career with enthusiasm. So people are thinking this as a limited growth, because the volume of the business is not so high also as compared to other industry pattern. So I think this is the major reason, like which I see that if since peoples are limited, so growth is also limited. So that is one thought which I want to share. So ultimately, in case of refrigeration field, like most important tool is our attitude, and of course we have to understood we have to understand the customers, we have to understand the OEMs, we have to understand the service providers in a better way, in a very cohesive manner, so that we can do the correct things in the correct times. So I'm not, I think time has very short, but still we have to have a holistic approach when it comes to the pain management of the refrigeration line is concerned, because ultimate objective is to have consider lot many things, but when it comes to the cost factor, when it comes to the initial cost, we have to think of labor cost, maintenance cost, engineers, big frequent failures, refrigerants is very, very important. Everybody knows in this platform. So these are the few summarized points which I have just as a target or as a pain point, like safeguarding food supply across all channels is very difficult, but yes, it is a pain and we have to tackle it. reducing energy consumption for every cold store is very much required. Everybody knows, and we have to think of that. Optimizing cold store business effectiveness and viability, yes, we have to look. Protecting our environment also by using the best choice of refrigerant. Because what is happening in these days, like people are using R22, people are using R410A, everybody is saying that this is better, this is better. So as industry experts, we have to have some alignment as a country, some alignment or some common goals or common objective, like we have to use this refrigerant for the benefit of our environment. So that is one point which we have to look. Of course, high rentals near to metro, so we can slightly eliminate or we can slightly avoid this thing, because we cannot do much on this. But yes, we can go 100 kilometers from metro or 200 kilometers from metro and put the facility. That is one solution. And availability of skilled manpower, like we have to have manage the number of peoples required for a site for run 24 hours operation. So we have to see on that front also, because ultimately what happened is, suppose machine breakdowns has happened in the night, so till the morning the stake is very high, maybe the material lost because there was no backup at site. So that those challenges we have to see. We can have a holistic thought and we can have a sense all the important facts. Ultimately, like instead of many challenges and pains, we have to have a reason to be happy and motivated, because we are dealing with the necessity of the life, and that is our food. So at last, we should always remember that expert is anything was once a beginner. So and have a safe working. So that's what I just like to say on this platform. Any questions?
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you for your thoughts and bringing out the 4 M's. I think it is kind of continues, because if you see our first speaker, Commander Gopinath also spoke about human last leg, as the last layer. You're also talking about manpower. I will have a very simple 2 questions. 1 question, 2 sides. And first part of the side is manpower versus smart store. So if you do you think that if you have smart stores, you can eliminate the kind of such a big M pain point that you had pointed out, in terms of shifts, in terms of, people not trained, and, all sort of the issues were there. Do you think a smart store can actually remove this dilemma?
Yes, actually, see, up to some extent, because smart store can, eliminate the first visit of a technician, like any smart store or any alarm or any alert, which definitely, comes to our mobile. It's a sort of technology. It's a sort of IoT. So it will at least gives us an idea that what can happen to the machine. Ultimately, the person, the engineer, has to go for a breakdown call, but yes, he can eliminate at least one visit that will add many value to the customer, because ultimately because in the industry, like 4 hours, 2 hours, when we talk about the various processes, like some people are asking, like 4 hours is one process time I need. So 4 hours breakdown, 4 hours early remedy to a problem definitely add value to the customer and the industry. Sure. So that is definitely a good thought, like good solution for this thing. Understanding that is very much required. Yes.
So again, now I will flip this question back to you, Sanjay. So if you see in so many years that we have tried, the refrigeration circuit is trying to move out, but you still see that most of the Indians are served by the local vegetable vendor at the local cart, or local nearby market. And if you see again, now there is human, right? But if you see, they know the art, or they are very attentive to their fruits and vegetables, and they're probably fruits and vegetables look more fresh than the store, fruits and vegetables put in store. So at one point you said that humans, are kind of a limitation. And the other side, I flip the question and say, no, I guess humans bring more value to lasting, fruits and vegetables. What is your answer on that, sir?
It's a slightly, definitely a tricky question. Like, see, if you really ask a cart, selling the food vegetables, they are maybe they have some traditional methods, but when it comes to the supermarkets or some distribution or display or retail chains, it's my personal observation also. So few factors which are missed, like in case of fruits and vegetables, the relative humidity is one factor which is almost negligible or almost skipped by major portion of the industry when it comes to the display of the in the supermarket. So when it comes to the our local guy who is selling on the cart, so they are very much maintaining those by adding some water or adding some different traditional methods, like you can jute boris and they're using it. So they appealing of that fruit is very much important, which they are maintaining in a better, because it's not only light, we have to consider the relative humidity.
Great. So I think the probably the best way or the middle ground would be to have human resources trained both in terms of understanding the sensitivity of fruits and vegetables as well as the sensitivity of the store. So with that, thank you, Sanjay, so much. And we'll request you to stay for if there are more questions coming on the chat box later on, and we'll ask you for that. Thank you so much for being part of the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, and I think, so leaving from where Sanjay has left, we have our next speaker, Andreas. Thank you, Sanjay. And Andreas brings with him, many years of experience, the stores, the large stores and handling stores. And probably in his presentation, we will probably learn more about, what could be the road ahead for a country as sensitive as India. So Andreas has several years of experience in management functions within the refrigeration sector, and he's been the member of TECO's management since August 2015. Andreas was previously president of sales for GIA Refrigeration Technologies based in Berlin, Germany. And before that, he was the head of marketing and product management at GIA Cuba GmbH. He's also worked in Zug, Switzerland as a sales and marketing manager at a Japanese manufacturer for industrial refrigeration. Andreas brings a lot of experience, which is global, and it'll be interesting to hear from Andreas what his views would be on the road ahead for India. Over to you, Andreas.
Thank you very much. Just a moment, I want to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay.
You can go full screen, that will be better.
I try to. So warm welcome from my side. Thank you for your warm introduction. The international perspective of the refrigeration industry. I'm working now quite a long time in the refrigeration industry, and we see a strong change everywhere in the market. So not only in India, we see it in Europe, America, South America, Asia. And the trend is, of course, that the cold chain is getting more and more tight. And we see all over the world investments in the cold chain. Even in where the cold chain is already quite developed, like in Europe, we see a big growth. So, of course, as the presentations before already mentioned, we have more ready-made food, and people want to have it more easy and want to eat different food from Italy, from China, from India, whatever. So there is a big move in this market. But generally, what my statement is, if we talk about investments nowadays, people should invest in the right technology. And this is, of course, sustainable technology. There were some slides before, and also what Sanjay said, that you have to train the people proper. This is one of the major concerns. And also in some sessions before, I saw people presented about refrigerants, different refrigerants for different applications. Yes, you're right, but we see a strong trend internationally to go for natural refrigerants. And why? On the next slides, I come to it, where is the strongest growth at the moment. It's for me a little bit strange, because in India, I think 10 years ago, I was already on one convention, and it was a lot of discussion about the cold chain in India. And it seems that things are now moving. There's more pressure to move on, which is good, personally. So where we go from, So I want to start with a presentation about CO2 transcriptive installations at the moment in the world. You see that Europe is quite dominant now. This is an actual figures from SHECO, an organization which is gathering all the, which is working for net refrigerants. They're gathering all the data, and you can see that Europe is very dominant. You see Japan and the rest of the world is now developing, but the growth is very strong. So we see more and more growing outside. So we are now active in South America selling CO2 racks. We are in Africa even selling CO2 racks, in Israel, and it's going far, far, far. And the question is why people are choosing nowadays CO2. Of course, in Europe, there is a strong pressure due to the F-gas regulation, that there is some pressure on it. But also if we take a look on the environmental aspects, I think it's quite important to have a look on net refrigerants. It doesn't matter which one, you know, there is, if we go to the cold chain, at the moment in Europe, there's a big, it's not a fight. You have ammonia installations, you have CO2 installations, and CO2 is now growing into the ammonia field and getting more and more shares of the ammonia field, because it's much easier for some of the installators to install a CO2 system, because the set is what they are used for the normal refrigeration. They can use copper pipes and so on. So we see some dilution in the market, the competition between natural refrigerants. But some more on the next slides. So comparison of GWP, as already in some sessions before, is not something special, but what of course has to be taken into consideration, we have the F-gases, like the old ones, and we have the new ones, the HFOs, which have a low GWP, and we have of course natural refrigerants, which have the lowest GWP. But the safety group is one of the concerns. You see that the HFOs are slightly flammable, so safety group A2L, but what is slightly flammable, you're flammable or you're not flammable. So that's why, for me, it's the same. You have to be handled on the safety, the same like propane, and then you can use already a natural refrigerant, which is in the market. And India is quite far in propane, at least on the air conditioning market, as far as I know. So F-gas, of course, no choice anymore for the environment. You know, there's a lot of pressure from the government everywhere to get rid of these ones. So at least in Europe, the systems overcharged with the kilo is a lot of obligations. You have to make a booklet, you have to really report it, and everything has to be very proper. But this pressure also coming to other governments all over the world, because the cold chain is not anymore national, the cold chain is now international. And this is something which harms also the marketing for companies which want to sell to export. It has to be on a kind-wise of a green environment produced. And there is also refrigeration, one part of it. HFOs are permissible in Europe, but you see the same obligations like with the F-gas. You have to make a report, a maintenance booklet, and so on. But the environmental influences have not been fully researched. So we see at the moment some reports which shows that the HFOs, if they go to the atmosphere, fall apart, and they create TFAs. And TFAs is a tetrafluoric acid, which causes an acid rain and also harm other environmental impacts. So it's not fully researched, but the report shows that this one is not going slightly further. So there will be some pressure on that. Just to show you some figures from our company, where we are now. So we installed our first CO2 unit in 2006. And the big change in the market in Europe was around 2016-17, where really all the retailers and also the cold chains changed more or less to natural refrigerant. And you see the share of F-gases in our company is now very slow, very low, and CO2 is around 95% this year. So the switch was really in the whole market, but it's not an easy switch. So as Sanjay before mentioned, training is the key. So every technology, doesn't matter normal refrigeration, or we talk about now refrigeration with natural refrigerants, you have to have a lot of training in the field. So we trained over the year now, I think, 4,000 people in our industry to be able to work with CO2. And I think the government is sometimes quite hard to get the right training courses for people in the field. So mostly it has to come from the customers and, you know, from companies like us, OEM or whatever, to train the people on the field. So I think that's one of the most important parts, because if we don't have certified technicians which are able to train and which love their job, so Sanjay, you are really completely right, that is something which is not going further. So we can do anything, but if this is not working out, if we don't have trained people, it doesn't matter if it's for F-gases or for CO2. This is the key. This is really the key of everything in refrigeration. Just a short technical comparison. You see an old unit 404 and you see a new unit with CO2. Basically, it looks quite the same. So if you train a technician, for them, it's quite easy if they're already refrigeration people to understand what is the difference between a CO2 or a standard unit with F-gas. So there is not much difference. You see the look and feel is nearly the same. So I just want to make also why the increase is coming so up in Europe. You see there is a slide where I make a comparison between CO2 and F-gases. This is, of course, at the moment in Europe. So in your regions, the initial costs will be higher because people charging more because there's a lot of uncertainty if they use a new technology. So the base is F-gas unit, and here we see the CO2 coming in. And at the moment, even the graph is going lower in Europe. So in Europe, depends on the region, we are now at 50 kilowatt, whereas the CO2 hits the borderline of the F-gas. So we see if you go below, if you are about 20 kilowatt, then you have a big gap is quite big between F-gas unit and a CO2. So that is where it is at the moment. But you see, even on the lower side, you can gain some investment costs. And why is it like that? I come on the next slides on it. So difference is like that. Then I made a comparison between ammonia and CO2 on the low temperature side. And you see there the graph is coming down to 250. Now as the manufacturers of the components like the compressors, making bigger compressors also for CO2, the costs are shifting in that way. So that the ammonia is getting less, let's say, comparable to CO2 up to 450 kilowatts. This is where the market is now moving into that direction. We already did installations now, cold storages is 4.2 megawatt refrigeration capacity on CO2. We also do ammonia, but at the moment, there's not much request anymore for ammonia. Most people at the moment in Europe and also in South America go for CO2. So that's quite important. And why the costs are lower? One important factor is the pipe dimension. And at the moment, all of you know probably that the copper prices and the whole price in the market is nearly doubled. And you see the pipe dimensions, and you see CO2 has a very low liquid and suction line. So the pipe dimension is very small compared to the F-gases, where we are now. Another point is the energy consumption. A lot of people in a lot of markets, I hear a lot of concerns that the energy consumption is bad. No, basically it's not. Compared to a Freon unit, it is comparable or even better. Depends how you want to design your unit. So a normal standard CO2 unit is like that. Then you have some further energy enhancers like injectors or EvaLift, which is our systems, our different systems in the market. And then here is the energy consumption of 404, the energy costs. So you see that it doesn't matter where you are, even in Bangkok, Thailand, you can do that. So, and we have now installations in very hot climate and also different climates. So you always have to see on the local region, what is the best fit, of course, but there is a lot you can do. The same we did for currents in Australia. You see that with CO2, you have energy saving around 9% on a perspective. So it's not something to do with the climate. It's more something about the efficiency of the system and how you set it up. Yes, and even safe operation during unexpected temperature peaks. So the high pressure cutout on a CO2 unit is normally not coming because you just reduce your capacity because you're producing more flash gas. This is now too technical. I don't want to go in detail on that. That takes too much time, but we can discuss later on. This is from Munich, of course. In Germany, the energy gain is much higher because we have also low temperature where you're not operating anymore in a transcritical mode, you're operating in a subcritical mode. So we have costs and we have energy. As you know, we have the installation costs and energy costs where it's going low. And here you see a picture also of big capacities, which is now state of the art for cold storages, just a standard one. And on one rack, you have empty and LT together. So that this makes it also very handy for the end users to have it. But of course, people have to be trained. Different circuits, just a rough sketch. I don't want to really go into technical details. On the left side, you see an CO2 cycle, a booster system. On the right side, you see a normal system, which you have normally with a cascade, LT and MT, low temperature and medium temperature. And you see it's very similar to an R22 booster system, say CO2 booster system. So there's not much difference for people to understand. Of course, you have different pressures, but the pressures is not the problem, is to be handled, because all the material which you have to use there are certified for these pressures. And I can tell you, we don't have any accident. You see the numbers before, and we don't have any accident concerning about the pressures all over. So I don't know anybody dying or whatever because of the pressures, because it's not that something is exploding. You just have a leakage and then it just blows off and that's it. And you have safety valves for that. So no major concern about that. High pressure side, low pressure side. So it's something which is not good. So what we see in the market generally is that CO2 is really a future-proof investment. And if people are now investing in the cold chain, they should invest at least in a refrigerant which is future-proof. It doesn't matter if it's CO2, if it is ammonia or propane, but the natural refrigerants are the oldest one in the world. And I know that India has a long history in natural refrigerants anyway. So it's something which needs to be good. But of course, most important, as Sanjay said, installers and engineers have to be trained on CO2. Otherwise, we will have a problem in the market, like everywhere with every refrigeration system. That's just a variety. You see from the very small units, this is our product line, but different companies have the same product line, I would guess. So from very small capacity up to 1 megawatt with one rack. So this is what you all can do with CO2. And this is a quite broad range, nearly the same like you can do nowadays with the F-gas. So basically that's all of my presentation. I tried to keep it short. I hope it gives you an overview, and we see a lot, really, the growth now happening outside of Europe is quite large, because people want to use that also to work with natural refrigerants, also as a marketing tool, which some companies did not understand proper, but the environmental impact harms us all. So it's something which is, I guess, very important for everybody. So thank you very much. Thank you all for listening to my presentation. So if you have any...
Yeah, thank you, Andreas. You brought a new, and actually it's been there, CO2 everybody's been talking about as a natural refrigerant. I think, but primarily, if most of the people we go and talk to they have a mental block of the pressures. And then they say that India is like a very hot country, and the pressures on the discharge side will be very high. Before I ask you to comment on this question, I kind of got very intrigued by the first slide that you showed. Would you have any idea as to why US has only 650 installations and Canada has only 340 installations, which primarily both have very cold weathers, and they are both progressive onto climate change, and they're very, very sensitive to GWPs. But if you take a reckoning from Europe installations, it's like minuscule. So what could be your thought on that?
My thought is very easy, and it's a very hard thought. You see that the American chemical companies are pushing quite hard into a direction which is not in favor of natural refrigerants. That's one reason. And the other reason is that America was not taking a long time so much care about GWP. Even with the government before Biden, they went out of all the Paris or, assignment and all these things, the protocol. So there is some things moving on. But now we see that there are now a lot of requests coming from this region, to be honest. So I think that will be the next big growth coming over there. But they are quite slow, and they have a lot of interest groups which are pushing in another direction. To say it politely.
Okay, so very politely. Thank you so much for handling it sensitively. Coming back to the same first question. So whenever we talk of a CO2 system in India, I think this is like a gone off premise that we always say, oh no, pressures are going to be too high. Pressures are going to be too high. So would you like to make a small comment before you close for the session as to how CO2 pressures and hot, humid climate like India can actually, gel together in future?
It's not a problem about the pressures because, as I said before, all the materials and all the components are certified for the pressure. And if you produce such a unit, you have to make pressure tests. All the components are pressure tested 3 times the maximum pressure. So if you have 120 bar, your components are tested at 360 bar. You know, that means there's a lot of safety inside, and you have safety valves. And to be honest, really, with all the units now installed, we don't see any severe accident, whatever happening. Nothing. So this is not something which is a major concern. I know that is everywhere in the market you come into, people have the same concern, but I can assure you there is no problem.
And you also kind of re-emphasized many times on the human, manpower and the training. And so before I conclude, you may have the best of the systems which have the pressure rating and everything, but end of the day, the execution is going to be done by, the team, which is going to be local there. So have you ever seen that, incorrect installation has caused any cause of concern in any of the countries that you've worked with?
No. You know, even last year we had a startup in Israel and we could not go because of COVID. So they're starting up by themselves. And they were not trained. They come to us before. We trained them for 3 days here in Germany. And then they went over there. And we said, okay, we need to go. We need to check and everything. But finally, it was just on the phone. And they started it up and everything works smoothly. So but the people have to be trained on refrigeration. If people are trained on refrigeration, the step to go to C2 is not a big one, to be honest. You just have to understand the system. But if you're not trained on refrigeration, then it's a different game. Then everything is very difficult. It doesn't matter if it's a F-gas unit or, ammonia, it can be all dangerous. So we don't see, because you have to select the right material, yes. And it's a starting point in the market. If the first one is starting, then, material is availability and all these things need to be started. But if you start in the cold chain, you should start already right one with natural refrigerants. It doesn't matter which one, but, it's the time to start with the right solution. Otherwise, you are behind. You start with something and you are behind everything because in some years, maybe there is a ban on something on a worldwide globe. So what can you do?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very insightful. Thank you so much for being part. And I would request if you could stay some more time. So in case we have more questions, we'll put it to you. Thank you so much. I think we go ahead from here. And we have a very, 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 very interesting speaker here with us, Mr. Basis Sukri. And I had the chance of interacting with him. Very passionate person about the cold chain. Mr. Basis Sukri has been long-standing association with the Indian cold chain industry for almost like 25 years plus. And he has an exemplary leadership in strategizing a holistic approach towards delivering temperature compliance in the entire cold chain. And he's been awarded the Industry Cold Chain Leadership Award for consecutive 3 years. Yeah, just a second, ma'am. Okay. And he's been, he's been a leader in sustainability and also with hydrocarbon refrigerant freezers. So I think I will, leave the audience to Mr. Basis Sukri because he is he's a passionate speaker and he believes in a lot of things. And I think if in this session, we've kind of had a very natural progression from one thought to the other and from the next thought to the other. So welcome, Mr. Basis Sukri, for the session.
Thanks, Ashish, sir, and thank you for the kind introduction. Yeah, is my slide visible?
Yes, sir. Great. And if you can run full screen, it will be great. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
So, yeah, thanks a lot. So I'll keep my pace a bit fast because of the paucity of time. However, I'll try to cover all my slides in this. So commercial refrigeration, as we all know, is an integral part of cold chain. However, what I call is this cold chain dilemma. So as we move from the factory or the location where the product is manufactured to the point of sales, we see a lot of temperature deterioration that happens. And at every stage, we tend to lose temperature. Now, there is one point where there is a breach of temperature compliance, and which everybody is struggling with. It is a challenge, and you can divide this into two parts. One is where you have maximum control, and the other is where you have restricted control. Yeah, the maximum control is it's mostly or mainly in the space right up till the secondary depot, where either the organizations or the service provider who can be coached and who can be taught to sort of carry out the right practices and obey the SOPs. While when you move into the trade section, then it's a little bit difficult, not impossible, but it's difficult to influence the trade to actually go right by the book. They would have their own priorities in mind. They would have their own priorities for business. And it would be a little bit difficult to actually get cold chain compliance in this restricted space. Now, where do we operate? We operate mainly at the point of sale. So I will actually dwell on this as to what are the challenges that are being faced, and what we would be facing would be primarily what many of the companies who are in a similar cold chain sort of distribution network like we are would be facing. So we start with CapEx. We buy a lot of equipment. Right? When we buy equipment, there's a high amount of capital expenditure that goes for it. With this, there's also a challenge in asset management because the point of sales are spread across the length and breadth of the country. We have one or more asset lying in each of these outlets. And to manage this requires a very strong program, a very strong network. Now, after having done that, you could have the best of systems in place, but given a country like India, there are yet challenges in trade, and there are losses that happen. So there are assets that are lost in the market. Now, having said this context, again, this is just one part of it. Then we come to the cold chain part of it. So what are the challenges in cold chain? First is that in tertiary temperature compliance, right from the point where it leaves the distributor to the cabinet, right? The volume becomes smaller and smaller. Bulk handling becomes lesser and lesser. Now, the more the handling, the more the touch points, the more the temperature loss. When it goes through multiple stages of handling and it reaches the freezer cabinet or the freezer, again, it has to be handled multiple times before the product is loaded into the freezer. Now, there could be a time loss in that where there is a consumer or there is some other work going on and the product will be kept outside, right? So you actually get a strong temperature compliance at the last stage is indeed a real challenge, right? So there are a lot of things that everybody does. Okay, there are thermal bags, there are multi-port distribution units that are there. We've implemented something known as the planogram, where we by DCP we can actually assign products to different slots that are there. So after having done all this, then there is another interface that comes with the consumer. The consumer would want to see the product, would want to remove it, want to feel it, want to look at it closer. Now, at that point of also, there is little control. You can't do much, and there would be temperature loss. There is a direct direct interface of the consumer with the freezer. So opening of the freezer doors, keeping the freezer doors open for a longer time, high ambience in India, right? Every city, okay, you name it, every city in India sees a virtually a tropicalized climate at some part of a time during the year. Then you have the spare sourcing for the freezers that we have. Okay, we are highly import dependent. Not only us, most of the components do come from abroad, and like in a time like this where COVID is playing up, uh, everything, manufacturing is not running to full capacity. Freight cost has gone up. Freight is limited, right? With everything, with all odds, against the industry, it's very difficult to get spares like how we would get it before. Also, there's a need for a lot of local manufacturing to happen, and local manufacturing with quality. The third bit is on manpower. Manpower is very limited in our industry. Now, if you actually go back, say around a decade or a decade and a half, or even 2 decades, many people who wanted to go for ITI, for example, all right, would choose refrigeration and air conditioning as the career, as the first career option. Okay, then came in IT industry. With the coming on of the IT industry, the shift, there has been a major shift to of people moving from RNAC to IT. Now it's obvious, our trade or refrigeration, air conditioning is more physical intensive. Environments are tough, and growth opportunities, because cold chain in India is yet at a very nascent stage. So seeing that, people opt for IT industry or other industries that are there. We also do not get full-fledged HVAC professionals like in many of the developed countries, where there is a curriculum for developing high-end expertise in cold chain. In India, basically people from different engineering fields. They could be from mechanical engineering, electrical engineering. They take this as a career, and then there's a on-the-job training that happens over a longer period of time. Having said that, that is also limited. So we are basically in a situation where we have limited manpower in the unskilled part, and also we have limited manpower in the skill or expertise part that we would want to develop in the future. Last is our service providers that we have for our repairs, maintenance, logistics, warehousing. First is there is no integrated service provider. So we have to approach multiple service providers. We have to approach multiple vendors. Right now, it would be so good, like there are in Europe, there are many vendors. In Americas, there are many vendors who do this all right, and they understand how an organization works, and they do it perfectly, or they do it completely aligned with the organization way of working. Now, coaching and trying to align 3 different vendors, okay, for 3 different streams of work that happens is very difficult. Moreover, for each of these streams, there is an on cost for it then. Technology and innovation. This is something that I think the refrigeration industry has been limited. So we use limited technology, and our innovation is indeed slow. All right. You just look at other industries. Look at industries, the auto industry, for example. All right. From just see the way they have, they've used technology and the innovation that they do. So every now you get a not a new model of a car. You actually get new technology coming in. Yeah. Then you have for example, telecom. See the way from landline phones, the evolution has been to smartphones. You see electrical industry, from say bulbs, or from our tube lights, how the evolution has gone to LEDs and SMDs, right? So use of technology and platform change in innovation is lacking in refrigeration, and it's there to a certain extent, extent in industrial refrigeration, but again, it's not that big, which we would say that this is disruptive or this is going to change the way we will now look at refrigeration technology. IoT implementation is one more thing, and the presenters before me also touched upon it, that sensors are being used, or Bluetooth technology is being used for monitoring temperature, for keeping track of the product where it is moving. So basically, location and temperature. But there is a lot that can be done with IoT in refrigeration. One is obviously how we can do predictive maintenance. That is one thing that will be a sort of, if it comes into cabinets and into freezers, the point of sale refrigeration, commercial equipment, it will be a game changer. Just imagine the amount of manpower that is floating around, to attend a complaint. Now they do not know also what the complaint is. While there are applications that just pass on the message to the service technician, yes, there is a fault out here, but the machine speaking itself, a freezer cabinet speaking itself, telling that there is a problem in me, all right, telling that I am operating at this odd parameter. So even before it fails, or before even if it goes into distress, it can be attended. The call can be attended, and while doing this, IoT cost is high, no doubt. All right, we can get it. We can get the cost low by mass implementation. That's one way. But also another way of offsetting is how would when you put something which tells you something which is predictive. What does it do? It actually helps you save whatever is the content of that freezer or that cooler or the chiller, whatever it is. Right? It actually helps you save it. And products which like ice cream and allied frozen products which are there, some of these can never be got back to their original attributes. They can never be got back. Once they go through a temperature abuse, they can never be got back. Okay, there would be some products which do not have or which can tolerate temperature abuse to a certain extent. But these artisanal products or frozen products which go through my processing and which have other attributes added onto it, yes, they can never be created back. Alternate technology is something that I'm very keen to see now. Right, we are in this vapor compression systems for ages. Okay, we've not evolved. There has been some evolution that has happened in medium temperature, but it's very little moving away from vapor compression systems. It's important. That's one of the ways how we can get our cost down of the overall equipment. Right, if we can actually put in research, we can put in our minds behind this to where we can get alternate technology for low temperatures. Low, I mean, is below 20 or around about 20 to minus 20, 25. Okay, round about there. If you can get it there, then it's going to be a game changer for us. Insulation. Ages again, we've been using polyurethane foam. There has been little that that has happened beyond PU foam, and there are definitely better insulation materials. There are vacuum panels that are there. Again, they have not been put into mass use, and because of that, the costing doesn't come down. One is the cost. Second is that it cannot, the availability becomes a big concern. Yeah. So these are basic, just sort of guideline things on technology and innovation that I'm very keen. So like we are doing things on this, but I'm very keen on seeing this happen at a faster accelerated pace. Coming to e-com, all right, and in the previous session it was touched upon. E-com is a big promise for the ref industry, big, and it's really huge. Okay, the only thing that will hold us back is what are the solutions that we have for handling various products. All right, so the only thing that I see currently that we get handicapped because of our cold chain solution, we have actually not evolved ahead of the insulated box and the whatever you call them, gel packs, PCM packs, whatever you call them. All right, we've not evolved around that. There are some experiments or trials that have been done on scooter mounted units. Some of those things are there, but there's much more to be done. And if we can crack this, it's a big promise both for the e-com business, and it's a big promise for the ref business also. And we can create an avenue of growth like we've not seen before, because every hand today has a smartphone, and there's a consumption desire everywhere. Okay, you name it, in what channel it is there. Okay, and if it could grow at such an exponential rate in other non cold chain or cold controlled businesses, it can very well grow in the cold chain business also. And in this, we would really need to look at it differently. So it's not about now saying that, okay, this is the time that we have. If I have to broaden the time, okay, I can have one person doing deliveries for a longer time. Okay, that gets my manpower cost, that gets my delivery cost down, right? So this is something that, it's a large amount of focus is required. The other thing is our packaging tasks that we have. We buy so much of equipment, so much of EPS comes out of it. Now, this EPS, it's what we are doing. We are actually using this to save our equipment. So from the manufacturing unit, it comes to our point of sale and it's secured. What are we doing at the other hand? At the other hand, we don't have a complete disposal mechanism of it. And what are we doing? We are then not saving the planet, right? So we have a task in hand, and we have to look at quickly getting as much as possible recyclable materials into our packaging. The last bit is on sustainability, and sustainability today's survival. You must have heard about the COP26 and all that. There's a lot of talk that has happened. Everybody's talking, and it's good to talk about it. But now what is required is we require action, and we require big time action, right? So we've been working on this for over a decade and a half. In India, basically, in somewhere around into 2007, I started the switch over from HFC to hydrocarbons. All right, hydrocarbons is a natural refrigerant. It does not cause any ODP. It does, and it has got negligible GWP. Right now, with this, what do you do? Right, when you're growing your business, when you have so many machines coming in, what are you doing? You're only amplifying good. Okay, when you move into natural refrigerants, and I would urge users, manufacturers, industry, everybody, it's good, it's wise to move to natural refrigerants. Yeah, there are some concerns which previously were pointed out on use of, say, example, propane, okay, R290 or R600. Okay, the volume of refrigerant in that is so minuscule that it will just, it'll just move out into the open space. It won't cause you harm. And there are very stringent guidelines for it. Okay, in India, in the last, a decade and a half that we've been doing this, all right, we would have the largest fleet of hydrocarbon refrigerant charged freezers. All right, we don't have any problem. Okay, it works perfect. In fact, it will give you a power saving. It has got a 9% power saving that it can give you. So it's all about.
Sir, sorry to hold on to you, sir. Actually, it is unfair on my part because I've not been a good moderator. But I would request if you could probably wind up in like a minute or so, please, sir. Sorry to break your thought.
I'm nearly through. Ashish sir, I'm nearly through. Yeah. So on this, we've been using this for a decade and a half. We've had no problems, and I would really urge everybody to look at this, and it would be really wise to move into natural refrigerants. Now, I would just leave you all with, so it's basically what I call ignite a call for action. All right. We need to have a lot of more tech play and innovation happening. There is a lot of power in digital. IoT and software integration would really help. Manpower resources, I've touched upon it, and I'd again reiterate that we need to have our professionals geared up, and we need to have enough resources for the future. And the last bit is on sustainable refrigeration. Very important, very important. Not only it'll help us survive, it'll help us also grow, and it'll also help us have a safe planet. With that, thank you very much, and thank you for having me. Over to you, Ashish sir.
Thank you, sir. Honestly, I mean, like, as I expected, you would be the, a great motivational speaker, and bring out lots and lots of thoughts, like thinking about the packaging material and the the insulation, and giving the alternate theories of using vapor compression. I think we need to have a bigger and a longer session with you coming very soon. Thank you so much for being part of the show. And now I think immediately we will move to the next speaker from Emerson, who's going to be our knowledge partner. And I'm sorry to all our viewers, we have to kind of do a hard stop at 3:15, 17, because we have a next show happening at 4 o'clock, and I need to have stage set for the rest of the people to coming in the next session. Thank you, Basit sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashish sir. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Yeah. So we have Emerson as our knowledge partner, and they are going to present their thoughts on solutions for commercial retail refrigeration. It is being done by Riaz. Riaz is working as a senior manager marketing cold chain at Emerson Climate Technologies India. Riaz has worked in various functions, including strategy and product planning, marketing, business development, digital marketing, and communication. He has overall 12 years plus experience. Riaz holds a mechanical engineering degree from Aligarh Muslim University, and he's done post-graduation in business management from Indian Institute of Management, Indore. Over to you, Riaz. Let's hear you from what Emerson has to say.
Thanks, Ashish. Thanks a lot. Let me share. So, good afternoon to everyone. And as Ashish has already put a time ticking, slot for me, so I will be quick. And if there is any question from anyone, definitely we will be happy to take it up on a separate note. So a brief introduction about Emerson. Emerson is a global technology, software, engineering, and manufacturing company. It's providing innovative solutions to various customers in industrial, commercial, and residential markets. Emerson has various product brands which are categorized into two global platforms. One is automation solutions and one is the commercial and residential solutions. Automation solutions primarily deals with the process part and the oil and natural gas part, and the commercial and residential solutions deals with basically like health, comfort, and food quality, say like all those things which are related to the human part from the comfort side and the food safety side. So just skimming through, like from 2020 perspective, our global sales were 16.8 billion, and from software portfolio 2.4 billion. And we have more than 83,500 employees and multiple manufacturing locations, and a very respectable company across the world. So coming to the commercial and residential solutions, the brands which we serve are Copeland, Lumity, Sensi, all are related to HVAC. InSync is food waste grinder brand, and then we have Rigid Tools. All those are there which are related to the human comfort and the food safety things. The industries we serve are like residential, home improvement, energy, utilities, food retail, and markets definitely HVAC and all those related things. Now coming to the Emerson India cold chain footprint, we have a headquarter in Pune and global engineering center in Karad. So the message which we want to give is that we are near to our customers, and we are designing our products which are related, which are for the India tropical climate. So it's not that somebody is designing somewhere and we are just pushing the products here. We are designing as per the requirements of India market. We are working closely with our customers, we are working closely with our channel partners so that we are able to give optimal solution to the thing which we are going to serve. Now, the challenge, as Basit clearly, laid it out, like keeping the food fresh throughout the value chain is a key challenge that we want to address. Because from farm to distribution or point of sale, it passes through various, like packagings where it touches various hands, and it touches various, like size of the packagings and all those things. So from a simple storage to a bulk storage, then to a point of sale storage. So we have to keep the food fresh, and that's the challenge we want to address. And we are actually, for each step in this transfer from the farm to the point of sales, we have different challenges, and we have products which are actually, catering to different challenges that we have to tackle in this value chain, because we can see that like 30% food is wasted during processing, transport, and storage. And global hunger index, we can see where we are and where the globally, different countries are. So if we are able to save the food, definitely it will be more and more, able to be distributed to the people who need. And honestly, the overall cost of acquisition will definitely come down. Now, keeping what are the trends in the commercial refrigeration in the retail industry? First of all, we have to have we are having different regulations, which are like compliance related to efficiency, which are compliance related to refrigerants. There are food safety regulations, now continual focus on decarbonization. We are seeing a lot of connectivity, like IoT, different devices are able to generate data, different products are able to generate data. There are interconnectivity, so we are seeing a lot of connected devices. And in last 18 to 24 months, a whole new focus on the health and wellness. Now people are more conscious about what they are eating, how hygienic it is, even from farm to fork. Like people definitely want to look at it, like how the whole value chain has treated this particular material and how it has been at different steps, so that whatever they are eating a very hygienic, palatable food. And in a nutshell, we can say that now, if we see the commercial and refrigeration industry, we have more choices, more connectivity, and more complexity to the people who are working in this field. But for the end user, with internet, things are getting more and more easier because the information is available on hand. So I will be speaking about IoT later on. So it's primarily related to that. Now coming to the alternate refrigerant usage in different applications. So currently, if we see the cold chain in food retail, food service, and industrial refrigeration, we are seeing a transition happening from different, like 404A to HCO to HFO blends, R32, R290, ammonia. So Emerson is not there basically, in India in ammonia, but, we can say that for all the new trends and the refrigerants which are into low GWP potential, actually we are all there with the products that we have. So we have, from the component standpoint, as Ashish was asking Andreas, like whether there is any risk. So we do have a compressor and controls which are catering to the CO2. So if there is any requirement in India, definitely we are here to serve that requirement if some customer wants to transition to a lower GWP potential refrigerant. Now coming to the energy saving technologies in commercial and retail refrigeration. So Scroll primarily started with air conditioning application, but then Emerson upgraded that design and like for the refrigeration application. So we are seeing, if we see the inherent requirement in a vapor compression system for refrigeration application, there is a higher compression ratio requirement. So then we improve the design and we introduce the economized vapor injection technology for Scroll, so that we are able to increase the efficiency and capacity simultaneously. A smaller size compressor is able to cater to a higher capacity requirement for a low temperature application like blast freezer, cold rooms, and it is highly efficient. So like everything we do, whatever components and we use, if we are using a more efficient components, if we are making our system more efficient, it is going to make things greener, it is going to reduce the CO2 emission, because if we are consuming more energy, definitely we are adding to the carbon footprint globally. So it's as a responsible citizen, I will say that it's our duty to check what is the efficiency, how it is going to impact the environment whenever we design and use the products that we have. So if we see the efficiency part, we have highly efficient compressors which are using economized vapor injection, and modulation, definitely, because modulation means load matching. So if we are able to modulate our systems by means of a digital modulation, which is shown above, and by means of a variable speed modulation, which is shown below, and we are able to reduce the power consumption, definitely efficiency is going to be higher, and it's going to make the system more greener. Now, for different solutions across the cold chain, the value chain of the food travels from farm to fork. Like we have restaurants, convenience stores, supermarkets, food processing and cold storage and distribution. So we have got all the gamut of the products which are required in these particular applications. We have a list of multiple satisfied customers, and we have a dedicated engineering team in India. We can support customers' transition to the latest alternate refrigerants, new technologies, and whatnot. So basically, Emerson is into this space to provide the innovative solutions and to serve the customers to the best of our ability and their needs. And now coming to the interesting topic of IIoT, which Basit actually touched upon quite in detail. So basically, if we see like in IoT, like we call it IIoT because it's industrial application, industrial Internet of Things. So basically, what we have is that we are having products, and products actually are intelligent products these days, and they generate data. Now, level one or the phase one of IoT implementation is basically like getting the data, accessing the data. Now, what happens is that we are just able to get the data and just see like what is happening in the system. If it is happening and something is going bad, then the person who is observing the data can just act on it. Okay, but the next step, phase two, is like manually like changing the things. So the person is still analyzing the thing, but he can change the things remotely. So from the phase one to phase two, the better thing is that the person is not going physically to the system, but still the analysis is being done manually by the person, and he is able to change things remotely in phase two. And the pinnacle is the data management, in which the system is able to gather the data, it's able to analyze the data, it's able to give the actionable, what we call is an actionable insight to the person, and basically system can tell the person like this thing is going on wrong, this is the solution, just do it if you want to. And sometimes even automatically we can program the system, and the changes can happen automatically even if you want to. So this is the phase three. So if we see the Emerson solution for IoT for cold room applications, on the bottom right, you can see like we do have a IoT solution in which we are not not only concentrating on the chamber temperature or the chamber humidity, we are also concentrating on how the system parameters are have fluctuating. Like for example, if we see the low side, we have the temperature room temperature and defrost status, what is the 24 hours air profile. But from the high side, we can see, we can observe what is the power consumption, what is the current consumption, what is the voltage, and what are the different control status, we have LP HP controls. If the system is tripping, what is this LP tripping or HP tripping. So what it makes is that it makes maintenance part easier. The person who is going there can know in advance what is the problem, and he can be well prepared, and the shutdown time or the downtime will be minimized to a larger extent. Now coming to the servicing, like if a system is running well, all the parameters which are like performance parameters are under control, we can do a targeted service, like of the system. It's not that we have to overhaul the entire system. So if we because we we have the data logging facility also, so the person can analyze like which particular portion of the entire system is actually creating a problem, and that particular thing can be serviced in detail without disturbing the rest of the system. So the service cost can be minimized. It can be like a predictive or a planned service rather than just like doing a you can say like a scheduled servicing, because scheduled servicing you just overhaul everything without knowing what exactly is the problem. In the planned or a predictive servicing, what you can do, you can just plan the things. Yeah, this is the thing which is going wrong in this particular system, and then we have to overhaul or correct that part only. So we can have the SMS and email alerts against the alarms, and everything in all lead to the higher efficiency and the higher mean time to repair. So apart from this, we do have solution for making a integrated solution for logistics and warehousing, from compressor to condensing units, different controls, cargo solutions for the movement, so for the logistics, and like a bigger semi-automatic racks for a bigger capacity. And for intelligent store, as everybody was talking about, we do have from a small case controller to even a thermometer to a cargo solution for the things which are in motion. So we do have a solution for that. So finally, like what can be a roadmap of refrigeration, refrigeration in commercial and retail application? We have to go for energy efficient, technology based innovative products. And we have to try to contribute to the carbon footprint reduction by use of low GWP refrigerants. Let's focus more on the life cycle cost rather than acquisition of the capex. And let's adopt an architecture of our facility which is like a distributed system, so that we have increased flexibility, standardization with lower redundancy cost, which is going to lower the cost of the entire system, so that everything will become more economical, and it can be adopted by everyone. So that's all from my side. And you can reach out to us through our website. You can visit our booth at Refcold, and for different products and applications, do scan the QR code and you can get all the details. And at the booth, you have my detail and all other sales guys' details. For any other detailed discussion, we are most welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Riaz. It was really, and I see that Emerson is kind of from the first to the last leg, you're kind of thinking so many beautiful solutions, and I think progressively to all possible scenarios that may be there to unfold. So it's a very, very progressive. My request to all who are attending this program, do please visit all our exhibitors' booth in the exhibition hall. Please request, and all those who are not members to ISHRE, please log on and be members to ISHRE. Before we go to the next, I would really want to thank all the speakers who have spoken before. And I don't believe the speaker that we have on the show is Rahul. And Rahul brings with him an immense experience into the super stores and distribution stores. And Rahul holds more than 17 years of experience in cold chain. He has been with Carrier for over 8 years now. Rahul is a BTech in electrical engineering from Punjab Technical University, and he spent time in various regions and branches across his 16 years of professional career. He's handled Chandigarh, Delhi, NCR, Southern region, Eastern region, Nepal, and now he's also looking for overseas business for Carrier. He is a core specialist in the field of horticulture, food, and he sees special segments like control atmosphere, chambers, and etc. Rahul has immense experience, and I think I would be doing injustice with the limited time available to hold more, and I will give it to you, Rahul, for taking the show. My apologies, Rahul. I've been a bad moderator, but you have like limited time, so request you to be. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Ashish. I'll try to make best use of the time I've got with me. Thank you, Mr. Ashish, and all the speakers before me. I would also like to thank almost, I've come to 350 participants or 350 visitors we have with us on the call now. So thank you, each one of you, to be with us all this while. The topic which I'm going to speak is extremely critical for all of us, and I think all the speakers having the good equipment, the correct equipment which is up to the date and as per the current market practices. But even before we come to the equipment, it's extremely important for all of us to understand. Yep. Sure. One moment, please. Is it visible now? Great. Thank you. So this is where I was that I'm going to speak about equipment readiness in commercial refrigeration to match industry expectations and the prevalent gaps. So the subject is extremely important for each one of us, and all the speakers before me have made it absolutely clear, point blank, that equipment, the way we present it, the way we bring it is going to going to make a lot of difference in the industry and in overall value chain. But even before I, touch the subject of equipment, I would just like to take a while and let everybody know that it isn't that we do not produce enough food today globally, that we cannot feed each one of us. It's just that the food waste during the journey from farm to fork, which is almost 30%, is what is causing this deficiency. So we produce food globally, which can feed up to 10 billion people. Global population is about little over 7 billion today, but what we can feed is only 6 billion of us. So I think this slide as the showstopper is the eye opener, that this is where we are all heading to. And if we do not take the good and the necessary steps today, we are going to put the generations ahead of us in big trouble. Post-COVID scenario in cold chain has changed completely. These are, some of the segment drivers which have changed the way we used to look at the cold chain before and the cold chain today. All of us as an industry, we have exponentially grown in 2021 because of these segment drivers. The need for the COVID-19 vaccine storage, increase in the healthcare sector, far, visible expansion in supermarket and the C-store segment in India, rise in online grocery and the meat industry. We've already, seen what the gentleman from Big Basket spoke about. There is no dearth of, the potential in India today, whether it is vaccine or healthcare. It's just about the products which we understand, how we can put them right in sequence will make hell of a lot of a difference in terms of the complete value chain in the food supply. So very basically, we are going to divide the equipment in two parts. One is the back-ended modular cold rooms or the cold storages. And on the front side, we will have the food retail. Cold rooms could be positive, negative temperature both, or the cooler temperatures 15 to 25 degrees Celsius. And again, different and multiple temperatures for the food retail products. If we get into more details, the positive and negative temperature products, we can have the plug-in or the remote food retail products. We can have vertical freezers, or we can have the horizontal freezers. We can have cold rooms with single stacking or the multiple stacking, depending upon the customer's requirement. Data logging, IoT has become the need of the hour. Racking, primary transport, and absolutely important, last mile delivery. So our equipment range today, as an industry, is not only limited to the cold rooms or food retail. When customers talk to us, like Basi said, it's like the comprehensive holistic solution. They're just not only looking at, one of us to come with one piece of the puzzle. They want the whole puzzle together. These are, some of the gaps today, which we observe very, very clearly. The current solution is on our left-hand side, and the gap, what it causes, is on the right. We are still looking at the low-cost solutions like vertical chiller and freezers for long-term storage partially. What it causes is the inventory management issues, because you cannot have the LIFO and the FIFO management. You have a lot of product spillage.
Then you have, little focus on the nutritional value while designing the correct room temperature for the different producers. We have seen many times in different customer places that, you keep oranges with apple and the grapes with oranges and etc. etc. Now, oranges are supposed to be kept at a particular temperature and humidity. Apple requires a different temperature. So we may, put all of them together under one basket because we have a space issues today. But what we are not focusing upon is the nutritional value. When we try to kind of give, one window solution, it is not going to solve the purpose in long term. So we have to have a very dedicated approach towards how we want to, take this whole subject forward. Like, Mr. Basi said, we can have the whole cold chain, but if we are not putting the last mile delivery as a priority without monitoring the temperature from farm to fork, it is again, not solving the purpose. The whole exercise of keeping everything in a cold chain is futile if the last mile delivery is happening in a non-refrigerated space. So these are certain gaps which are clearly visible today on the cold room side. These are gaps on the retail side. So on the left-hand side, you can see the complete, basket of the products which are available. But when you look at Indian retail market today, I'm very sure most of you would have not seen more than 80% of these products. What we see in India is standard plug-in chillers and freezers only. So we need to understand all these products are made for a purpose, and we all need them. It is required to keep the nutritional value up absolutely correct. It is required to maintain the LIFO, FIFO inventory management. Different are designed for different products, different temperatures. For example, you will have a different temperature for dairy, different temperature for meat. But until or unless we put our energies into understanding, it will never come out. We are still focused on very low first cost. Operational expenses consideration is absolutely little. We are failing in our long-term planning. If I ask any retailer today, what is your 2-year plan or a 3-year plan or a 1-year plan, so that we can plan better, they have no idea. Everybody's like, jumping the gun. And IoT as a standard solution. So we have solutions as an industry, but it has to be a win-win situation. Customer needs to understand why those are required and what is the cost, in turn. So then only the industry will be motivated enough to offer these solutions as a standard one. As far as the equipment readiness is concerned, from the industry's perspective, I'm very happy, and I think this is the icing on the cake. Like Mr. Basi said and wanted, as an industry, all of us together, we have the complete solution available, which can be offered. It is just the matter of time now when customers become more and more visual and they get, more and more information on these products availability, they will start asking for it. And the moment customer becomes demanding, and they know what they want, I'm sure industry will have no option but to offer the right solution for the right product. So I move from the left to the right, that is food retail, then cold rooms and cold storages to the unitary products. I think absolutely happy and proud to say that in India today, there is nothing which we don't have. And if there are certain things which are still missing or, getting evolved, as an industry, we are ready to, get them from the outside. So this is the extremely positive outlook of Indian refrigeration industry, that we have all the equipments which are required to offer to our customers, to cater to our customers. Not only equipment, we have all of us, infrastructures available for servicing of them, to give them the trainings, whatever is required. So yes, we are ready to handle our customer requirements. At last, we understand what you want as a customer and consumer. As an industry, I think all of us, we have the right products to offer you. It's more about cohesive life cycle approach, which we all need to consider while keeping sales in mind. Until or unless we start talking about the life cycle cost of a product, and we just continue to talk about capex, initial low cost, we are never going to have the right solutions from the industry, and you're never going to have the right product as a consumer. Cold chain industry is evolving, and so is this industry. So I request each one of you to, treat us as your partners, give us your feedback, and wait for the right solutions so that we can all make this world a better place to live. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ashish.
Thank you, Rahul. You've been, I think you took me to literally, I think kind of you helped me to not be a good moderator to keep time balance, but thank you so much. But I think I like the every like I say in terms of Diwali, we keep the best show cracker for the end. So I like to conclude on where you left, that yes, India is on a very positive frame of mind. We have the technologies, we have the products, we have the manpower, and we are kind of progressing. And in fact, today's discussion brought a lot of emphasis on manpower, and I think back at ISHRE we would also think on how we can, with the all industry put together, augment this process of training more manpower. We also saw a lot of thrust on IoT and natural refrigerants. It is being very, very into the in line to what our Prime Minister presented for his vision of carbon neutral India and reducing the carbon footprint by half by 2030 and almost nil by 2075. So I think as an industry also we need to gear up to that vision. In the meanwhile, we are serving the objective of bringing quality food in the right temperature, in the right taste, in the right manner it should be. And I think with that, I would just keep this session open only for 2 minutes. If any of the speakers who are there would have any questions for any of the speakers, otherwise we would like to session in the next 1 or 2 minutes. So if there are any things, anybody can switch on the camera and let us know, and if you want to have any question to the panel otherwise. And once again, to all the attendees, please request you to visit all the booths. There are a lot of technologies happening here, a lot of innovation displayed, very, very interactive booths are there. Please visit everybody. And I see that, let me see, there's one chat, okay. So I think I'll request Rajanji to kind of conclude this session. And thank you everybody for joining. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ashish. And it was a wonderful session. Beautifully, I would say, even though you are saying you are not a good moderator, but you are really a good moderator in the sense that you brought the essence forward. And yes, the timing was a little here and there, but I think it was quite interesting, and it got a little stretched. So thank you so much for that. Once again, thanks to all the panelists and also Emerson for being the lead sponsor for this particular conference for today. Thank you all. And yes, we actually would like to thank all the delegates who attended in large numbers. We'll start our next session at 4 p.m. So we'll request all of you all to rejoin back at that point in time. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Signing off for now.